Guys, welcome to the final episode of this video series where all of these skills that we've been learning are going to come together in a really cool project. Today we're going to talk about transplanting, and essentially that's taking a graphic tee, a bandana, any other material, and we're using the patching technique again, but in a larger scale project. So today I have a bandana and a vest that I've had for a long time that I want to transplant to create something even more awesome. Let's jump right in. Okay, so I have this vest here, and as you can see, I've already did some weird abstract lines. So we have some nice topography things. And it's cool with these lines, you just follow along this path, but then you just keep adding in random directions and then filling it in. This back is obviously pretty plain, so I found this bandana and I'm gonna keep on this black and white theme and transplant the bandana onto the back of this vest. And you will need evil pins. Before I even pin it, I'm gonna kind of line up where I want this friend. And so I want to try, that's the key word here, to get this cool flower thing in the middle. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feel where this line is, and I'm gonna try and cut about an inch outside of it, around it. And so how I'm gonna do this is, you know, lazy girl way, like always. I'm gonna pull it back and I see, okay, here's the line. It goes like here. So let me cut about an inch, let me cut above it. And I found this bandana on the streets in Wisconsin. Apparently Wisconsin was my very magical thrifting place. And so as we line this vest, we're gonna continuously adjust things. So I've gotten this top cut. I wanna fold it under as if that's where I'm laying it. And then we're gonna pin along these edges. And I'm bringing the edge close to this edge to try and sync them up. So like where that hem is, I'm gonna try and line up where my fold is too. And this is easiest, I will say, on completely flat and just square panels that you wanna do. But we're gonna try and do it tricky because see this curve on this sleeve? I'm not exactly sure how that's gonna go, but we're gonna go for it. We've gotten that down, okay, and I see that this line is not in the center. So I'm gonna readjust that because that seems kind of important. And essentially this step is just like adjust, adjust, adjust until you get it kind of mapped on there to how exactly you want it, and then we sew. And then to keep this in the middle, I'm gonna pull it down. Okay, I see I want to cut here on this line, so I'm going to measure, this is about an inch. And that's so when we fold it up in there, we don't have a ton of fabric that's bunching. So I fold it under, and then I kind of smooth it out so it lines up. And so now I see I have this line here that I want to follow, and we just are going to keep following this same pattern of about an inch and cutting off the excess. And then we're going to fold it under like we've been doing, lining it up with the hem and adding in the needles. You can totally do this with a sewing machine. I actually do have a tutorial on YouTube with a sewing machine, but there's something so cathartic to me about hand sewing, and also you don't need a sewing machine. I think that's a super important thing because first of all, not everyone has access to a sewing machine, and second of all, not everybody has the patience at this moment in time to learn the sewing machine because it's a to-do. I still need to take classes with the sewing machine. And that's why I really kind of banked and prided myself on this messy look. And it's such an accessible art and such a conversation piece when it's hand done and it has that hand done look. Because then people know, they're like, oh my God, did you make that? It's freaking cool. It's cool to share that and share your clothes and your creativity in that way. When you first do this, it's gonna take practice. I'm moving through this relatively quickly because this is probably like the 20th transplant I've done. So I'm a little well versed. If it feels frustrating at first, just keep going. It will get easier. These sleeves are a little tricky. We're gonna keep following that inch slash, this one's a little bit more of a 1/2 inch. I'm just gonna tuck it. And you know, there are gonna be places where this doesn't line up perfectly, but nobody's gonna notice. They're just gonna be like, oh, that's a really cool vest. I've never seen anything like that. They're not gonna be like, oh, you know that there's a small marginal gap right there. So how I'm gonna go about this is starting with the ends, because those are easy to line up, and then I'll kind of adjust the middle. Get it pretty close. Okay, and then as we sew that with our hands, we can adjust it. So I'm gonna, you know, once more, we trim around, and then, you know, start with the corners, and I'm gonna just take that needle out so I can readjust. Oh gosh, that looks like a dangerous needle. You wanna try and make the needles not be just like poking out randomly, because you will forget that they're there and hurt yourself. Okay, so she's been mapped out. I'm gonna do the same thing that we've been doing this whole time, and we're gonna load up a needle. All right, and so I'm gonna use this red thread so that we can see what we're doing, and because contrast is cool in black, white, red, that one's hard to mess up. So we're gonna load our needle. We pop down and then up just right next to it and pull it through. And so they don't have to be as close together as before because it's not a raw edge, so you can leave some space between it, which is nice, which means you need like far less little things. Okay, so I've sewn now across, securing it on, and I'm getting to this edge, and I'm just gonna do around this sleeve the looping that we've done before. So I mean, I'm almost out of thread, but I'm just gonna go around and pop through and loop and kind of just play on that messiness. Just because, let me take this guy out. Just because this isn't flat, so it's not going to be as simple, but this will go pretty fast. So I'm just doing that loop around, and you want to just keep smoothing it out as you loop, because the fabric is definitely moving, and this is a weird curve around this armpit if that's where you're going. Subtle folds that I'm sewing into, but nothing crazy, and the more that you keep smoothing it out and adjusting, the less bunchy it'll be. Another thing that feels important is recognizing that the tip of this needle is your best friend. Like anytime you get knots, you can use the tip of the needle to kind of like loosen it up, which is going to be way easier than your fingertips. Oh my god, y'all, the vest is finished. So here's the front, little panels. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and now you have the basic foundation to really just go wild with your clothes. And you can do this sitting, listening to a podcast, outside, at a bar. Like, take these things anywhere and talk to people. People will come up to you and be so interested in what you're doing. Or if you're an introvert, just stay home and listen to a podcast and do it. But these are such great conversation starters with people about what really matters in this world, which is creativity and self-expression and working in a way that is in harmony with the earth. I really am excited for you guys to share all the things that you make, and please tag me on Instagram either at Carry Her Wave or Tie-Dye Clothing so I can see all the ways that you combined these different mediums into, or media methods into a really amazing masterpiece. And so I am just wishing y'all the best exploration ever with your wardrobe, and I'm sending my love, and may these skills allow you to experience liberation and freedom in your wardrobe and expression and creativity. So thank you so much, and don't forget that your accidents and flaws are actually just guiding you to a deeper understanding.